Valley View. Oh my. Next gen. Where the next generation speaks. Woo!
Can we give it up for Will and Reece here tonight? Good deal, good deal. All right, well, y'all get the couch. There you go, there you go. It's not that comfy. But
I feel like I should be leading the game up here.
That's right. Hey, it's the game. That's right. That's right. Hey, that's right. That's right. Okay, for those that don't know, man, you're getting old. I'm old, but you're getting old. For those that don't know, Will was I'll go ahead and say it, the original OG intern. And so who got to, I know your guys group, who got to experience Will as our intern here, right? Okay. All right. Those are days, those are moments no one will ever forget. And those are some incredible times. And I miss those times. I love those times, man. And I was just so glad to have both you guys back here for a great conversation. So you guys ready to go? Ready to run? Ready to roll? It's going to be good. Going to be good. Going to be good. Who was here last year for the conversation? A lot of you? Okay, good, good, good. Well, last year we had Reece. It was just a conversation with Reece, and it went really good. And then, I was like, hey, let's bring Will and Reece up here. And so Reece, last year was the first year we did this. It was a great turnout, great response. And so what is one big thing that has happened this past year that has had a positive impact on your walk with the Lord?
That's good. The past 3 years were extremely unexpected for my life, I think for Will's as well. And as believers, we know that we serve a promise-keeping God, and there's no fear within our future because He knows all things. But I think the past year, I've really have leaned into trusting Him and His plan. That is obviously, again, as believers, we know that. We know Jeremiah 29:11 for He has good plans for us, and He knows those plans. But I think I've really have leaned into I have to trust Him and truly surrender my entire my career, my life, our marriage, everything, all to Him. And that's something I've really leaned into this past year.
That's so good. And that's, man, when you say, look at Romans 12:1, and you said Jeremiah 29:11, Romans 12:1, Paul writes, hey, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices. And you hit perfectly on that, where every part of your life, right, is the Lord's. And even this opportunity you guys have been given, and we'll dive into that in a little bit too. But man, and it all goes back to the Lord gave you a platform and you a platform, and you've used it so well for His glory. And Will, last year it was just Reece up here, and now we got the dynamic duo, and I think that's what everyone sees. They see the dynamic duo on social media, and they see, they see the high moments and the moments of, hey, it's just us two conquering the world and conquering life together, and you both were thrown into a moment, thrown into a situation, a positive situation, positive platform on social media, but also as her husband and as this leader that the Lord has placed you in a leadership role. But how do you safeguard your heart and Reece's heart with all the social media attention, all the, because it really kind of happened overnight. And so how do you safeguard your heart and protect your family's heart through all the social media influx?
Yeah, so starting out, I wasn't the best. There might have been some comments that I regret on, like when people were degrading her or something like that. Yes.
Hey, you're ready to fight.
Yeah. I was ready to throw hands.
That's right. That's right.
We need to pipe it down on that. But like our careers now are completely like social media. Yeah. And like all you hear about is like social media being like a bad thing. And in some ways it is, and in some ways it can be turned into something great. And when you spend all that time, you can do good with it or you can do bad with it. And we have to, like, safeguarding our hearts, we have to put like timers. Like if you go on Reece's phone after like 6 o'clock, it probably has like a timer. You have to like press an app and then ignore to like make sure we're watching our screen time and being intentional with each other rather than just being in our phones all day, because it can be consuming. And there's been times in our marriage the last couple of years where there've been days that we have fallen and not really talking to each other because we've been consumed with social media, because that's literally our job. So it is difficult to balance it, but I would say that's still a work in progress because it's still so new to us.
I would say too, one other thing is like those like timers, and I'm sure we all have like limits on our phone or whatever that looks like for us, but practical tools for us too. We learned at a very, very early on with the whole social media influence and impact that we had was there are resources and platforms out there that are really negative, and so we had to be extremely obedient and set those boundaries of not going on different platforms that are just expressing very opinionated things about us and who we are, and that's very worldly, and so we had to really kind of set some rules for both of us, and I think both Will and I keep each other accountable when it comes to the other influence of social media that's out there.
Both great answers on both of that, and we got to talk with the Lady Patriots and the high school baseball Patriots today, and we talked about rising above a couple things, right? Right, guys? Right, ladies? We talked about rising above. We talked about you got to rise above yourself, and you got to rise above the crowd and the criticism and the noise, right? There's a lot of outside noise, and to rise above that as leaders, I think you talk a lot about that from a standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, a sports standpoint. But for you now, like the noise is on all the other social media platforms that spew negativity, and so rising above that as a couple, as a family, and that's so key. So no, that's good. That's good. Well, the next question is really for both of you, so you can both take a shot at it. And so, from a leadership standpoint, we look at it as influence. John Maxwell says this: leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. Your ability to influence a group of people or one person, that's literally what leadership is. And the term you both would be labeled as now is influencers, right? That's the term. And from a leadership standpoint, if you look at the word influence and you being influencers, you do that at a very high level. And so what are some principles that you use and apply to your daily life to stay disciplined in the small things?
I would say one thing for me is when Jesus came to earth, he gave us the perfect demonstration of what a leader is to look like, and that all came from a heart of service. And so I try to incorporate that now that I have this platform, and to be a great leader means to have a servant's heart, and I try to, obviously I'm going to fail and stumble along the way, but I strive to walk in Jesus' footsteps with that. But I would definitely say that when it comes to our impact and the influence that we have, it really is reflective off of what the Lord has already done on earth, and just trying to follow in his footsteps.
And I also think it goes back to like fundamentals. I mean, like you talked about the softball team, and I know you're talking about fundamentals. Like, I know y'all talk about fundamentals all the time. You preach on it. But like going to the fundamentals, the first year of marriage, I would say we were pretty inconsistent with like reading our Bible. And then this year, we got the Bible in a year. So we're a couple days behind because we've been traveling, but
just keeping it real.
Yeah. I mean, we get behind too. So doing that, it's keeping each other accountable, and it's also like competitive, because like
Are you competitive, Will, at all?
No, not at all. No.
I remember at Beach Week one year, you got mad because a student won and you didn't.
Yeah.
Probably.
Some people remember that.
It was a Mickey Mouse trophy.
That's great. That's great.
But sticking to the fundamentals is truly where leadership begins.
Yeah. You got something on that, Reece?
No, I was also going to say, just like really putting God first and foremost throughout your walk, while also incorporating him into the small things. Some things like we pass up on if it's like a car ride and we're just kind of like going along our day, and it's like that could be a time where you can be in prayer with him, or you can listen to a worship song and incorporating and bringing him into your everyday life. It doesn't have to, it's not always the big moments that we need Christ. Obviously we need Christ in everything, but it's really bringing him into those small moments, whether it's worship, whether it's community, your Bible study, it's, you know, your Bible in a year, or the verse of the day. Having those things that always point you to Christ, I think, is helpful for us too, that we like to incorporate.
It's been said, leadership is devotional before it's practical, right? Getting the small things right. So if you're going to lead on the big stage, it's getting the small things right. If you're going to lead on the big platform, like the Lord has given you, it's getting the small things right. So that's good. Good stuff. Well, both of you have been through SLU as leaders, right? Hilo went as a student, right, Hilo? That's right. As our first year at Enid. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hilo is Will's sister. Yeah. Hilo and Miss Brenda. There you go. That's right. That's right. So, we've known each other since 2015, 11 years, and then. Man, hey, yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and I'm so thankful for every moment, man, that the Lord has just, who would ever thought back in 2015 that this is where, you know, I mean, it's all the friendship, the brotherhood, and now just, it's a full circle moment, it really is. And but, you know, you've both been through SLU. Hilo's been as a student, you've been as a leader, and Reece has been as a leader, and Lindley took, I went to El Salvador, right?
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Sorry.
Just keeping Will humble up here.
There you go. So that's right. Of course, that's right. So, but y'all both been at SLU as leaders, as chaperones, and you remember the dream session, right? Everyone was challenged to write down their dream, and a lot of our students have written down their dream. And what was your dream back then? And what did you write down? And what is that dream now, and how has it evolved?
I'll go ahead and start. My dream was to work for the Atlanta Braves, chop on. Huge Braves, huge baseball fan. Obviously that didn't happen. I am cooking.
Yeah, that's right.
But when I moved out to Texas, I tried to get in with the Rangers just because I love baseball. And obviously that didn't work out either. And I think it worked out for the better, because if that had happened, I would be in my really, really busy season when Reece was in the off season. So our schedules really wouldn't have aligned, and it would have been really, really difficult to start out. So look at it all as a blessing.
The Lord was protecting you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it has evolved now to fueling our bodies and getting great nutrients to not eating a bunch of crap.
To be effective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Being very intentional with what we put in our bodies.
And you do a great job of that.
Well, thank you.
For sure.
He does, because I'm the one that eats it.
Yeah.
So. You know, actually, my dream, I didn't know at the time what the Lord was calling me to do as a dancer. I knew at the time I wanted to pursue a professional career in dance. I just didn't know what that looked like. But I do remember having a little moment where I, wrote down, maybe I'll perform at Disney, or maybe I'll take classes in New York or something like that. But I do remember writing down maybe one day becoming a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. I didn't really know where that came from, but now at the time, obviously it came specifically from the Lord. He called me there. But it's really cool to look back and think that tiny little moment that just came into my brain actually was the Lord saying, I'm going to give you this little wink, because it's there in the future, which is really cool.
That is cool. That is awesome. That is awesome. And that's so cool that, and here's the wonderful thing about writing on a dream, whether you wrote it down in 8th grade or you're writing one down today, the dream can evolve, the dream can change, but I think the challenge is to keep on dreaming, right? And I think we were talking the other day, hey, we're gonna shoot for the stars and maybe we'll hit the moon, right? That's kind of what we want to do. And so, man, that's good stuff. We got a few more questions here, and then we got a meet and greet. Will, you served at Valley View as our student intern. And if you don't know this, Will's very first dollar he ever earned here at Valley View is still in Madeline's desk to this day. Madeline said, "Yep." She said, "What is this?" I said, "Well, it's Will's very first dollar he ever earned here at Valley View." And so it's
Very symbolic.
very symbolic, and it's just, I think everyone that sits at that desk is just a challenge. So hey, we got to keep pressing on. That's right. So Madeline like hits the, how football players will hit the wall. Madeline hits the dollar bill every day she walks in for work. So that's good stuff. But you served starting in the fall of 2018 through your senior year of college. What is one memorable moment that you had? It can be anything. And remember, we're recording, so be careful on some things. But what was one thing that you remember that was just a memorable moment for you as our student intern?
I remember all the times that Jordan locked me in a room and made me watch her wedding video. That was quite a few times.
Yeah.
But
That's great.
probably that because being a leader, I went to SOU 101 and then like the next week SOU 201.
Wasn't that a great
That
trip,
was
by the way?
awesome.
That
That
was
was
a great
awesome.
trip. Yep.
Like getting if you're a student, you have to go 101 and then the next year 201.
Yep.
And being able to do them like back to back with it so fresh on your mind, it was really cool experience. Yeah.
That was you got to experience it in a very unique way, and that was rough, but that's one that we were running, and now we've got the rotation, which is great for everyone, for me, that's right, but also for our students too. But yeah, those are some great times, man. The moments that you're there, and then speaking of SLU, they said this: you'll be the same person you are today in 5 years, except for the people you meet, the places you go, and the books you read, right? And so my challenge is, hey, I'm going to take you places, we're going to meet people, and we're going to dive into some books. And so you got to experience that not only as a student, but also as our student intern. And man, you always did a great job. And man, it's just good stuff. So our senior guys here, you were their Bible study leader, and they're about to graduate. Yeah, and so man, hey, it'll make you feel older. That's right. And then it's just so cool to see where 2018 was, and now look at you and look at you guys. So the Lord's so good. All right, well, I think this is a great question. We've had some people drive a long way here to hear you guys, and I think this is a really good question to ask you guys. So, Reece, as you and Will started dating, because I remember these moments because we were having conversations. I think you started living with us at this time, and I remember the first day we all met, and Boone came to the house, and it was on 27th Street, and so. But I remember all these little moments. But as y'all were starting to date, what was that process like, and how did Will go about asking you out on your first date?
Well, Will and I feel like Will and I both, like, this was very new for the two of us, just because we really didn't date before dating each other. So we were kind of learning together. But Will, okay, so to back up, some of y'all might know this story, but some might not. But Will and I technically, I guess, laid our eyes on each other. The Tennessee-Alabama basketball game, my freshman year, his sophomore year, and I had like this little interaction with Big Al, our mascot, and a little boy. He wanted to get like Big Al's attention. And so I was friends with Big Al, and I got him over, and I saw the little boy who wanted Big Al's attention, and we just kind of had like a little threesome interaction. And Will told me a little bit later, once we started to date, that he'd watched that interaction, and I think that's so sweet and just so cute. And my first, not interaction, but moment of seeing Will was he was yelling at a ref so
He deserved
loudly.
it.
And I was like, this guy's the most passionate Alabama basketball fan I've ever seen in my entire life. And his side was just so sweet, and I'm like, ooh, this guy is like really passionate. But Will followed me on Instagram that night, I think, and I saw that he had a lot of mutual friends that I had, and I was like, okay, like these are good people too that follow each other. So I'm like, all right, maybe he's not super angry at a ref all the time. And the rest is kind of history. We went to another Broken Egg. That was our first date, and then the pandemic happened, so it was kind of this like weird moment where we just kind of kept in contact and didn't really know what life was going to look like after that. But when school opened back again, I was going to my sophomore year, Will was going into his junior year. He introduced me to his family, he introduced me to Taylor and Lindley, and just so many things fell into place. And that's kind of like a really long-winded answer to, to tell you how we met, but that's kind of how everything fell into place, and the rest is history.
Well, what's your version of it? Because I think there's two versions, probably very similar, but.
You guys, he was like yelling so much at this ref, like I saw spit like coming out, and I just remember like, wow, like this guy really loves the Tide.
Okay, so speaking of that, there was a time on our social media where we would see how many times we could find Will at a Bama sporting event. And every time we would, we're like, there's the legend. We'd always put in our student social media account. So it just backs it up as true. But do you have any other version of y'all meeting and who sent a message?
It's pretty much the same, but Reece slid into my DMs. That's how that's how everything initiated. She'll say that the first move is following, but I technically think
Ladies, am I right? I see heads.
To each their own.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just waiting to see. I knew that was good. That's good. That's good. So, man, everyone loves that story, and then it's really cool to see that where we are now. And just the moments getting to this, moment, and and the Lord worked all that out through the pandemic, and you were already here at Valley View, then you came alongside, and we're teaching with Lindley, and your girls they're sophomores now, and that's hard to believe that right, they're sophomores in college now. That's crazy. So and just yours and Lindley's relationship, and mine and Will's, and just the really unique moments that the Lord has really placed together. And it all started out with social. See, social media is great. They met on social media. Lindley and I met on social media. Lindley's like, don't share that story. Well,
MySpace
for all our dinosaurs in the room. We met on MySpace, and then thank God, thankfully messages didn't get sent over on MySpace. They moved to a much safer version called Facebook, right? And so thank the Lord for that. But which is also owned by the same company that owns Instagram, I guess. So it worked out. But that's great stuff. Great stuff. Well, got a few more questions, and then I know you guys are excited for the meet and greet. But Reece, dance has been a big part of your life and your passion for so long. Why is that?
That's good. Well, I will say I grew up in the Christian household. My grandfather was the pastor of our church, and I had a very unique upbringing, I guess, within the church. I had a different perspective and a different outlook on just my grandfather's life and how he led and the sacrifices he made, and that's kind of like a different, sidetrack there. But I knew at a young age that I loved to dance. That was like such a passion of mine. But it wasn't until middle school where my relationship with the Lord was really growing and maturing, and I really understood and grasped the concept of what it means to glorify Him with all that you've been given. And I saw dance as a gift, and I wanted to use that to give Him glory and to do it for an audience of one, Him. And I think that's why, of course, I love to dance. This is the physical aspect of things. I love the teamwork and how collaborative it is in the community, and the sisterhood that I've made with so many girls. Those are all great things, but when you get down to the main point, it's such a sweet sign and way of worshiping Him. And I think that's why I have fallen in love with dance so deeply, because it is an act of worship. And that's just why I love to dance.
I love that. And it's not necessarily the words you sing, it's the life you live, right? And dance is part of that. And speaking to that, right, we'll go right to Will's question. You talked about your dream, and now it's transformed into cooking, right? And we're grateful for it. Anytime you're at the house, we'll take a meal from Will anytime, right? Meals from Will. There you, hey,
trademark it.
Hey, you heard it here first, guys. So there you go. So, with your cooking on TikToks and Instagram Reels, they've done really well the past few years. Where did that motivation to cook come from?
Back in the day, my dad would grill for us, and he would just burn stuff. It would be like well done, and I just started liking stuff like medium rare, and he'd be like, "You take it over," and so I did, and that's where like the passion came from. I started grilling, and also like every 4th of July and a couple different holidays, my grandfather, he had a huge rotisserie smoker, and I would always go up there and help him do like ribs and butts and sausage and stuff, and I really loved that, and that was so much fun. So I guess like the meat side made me interested in it, and then like the rest of it, like the sides and everything, just came along with it.
Yeah. Well, get back to your intern days when we'd get to our barbecue plate sales and stuff. So we got a front row seat of that. I was like, man, Will knows all about this stuff. I was like, hey, Will knows how to smoke all these Boston butts. And we had a lot to smoke. And so
And the hams too.
And the hams too. We may bring those back. Man, those were good hams. So, and those were all great times. But yeah, so using that and again, using your passion for the glory of God. So students, I would challenge you tonight to really dig deep and say, hey, what is the Lord instilling in my heart? Whether it's dance, whether it's cooking, whether it's teaching, whatever it may be, how can you use that for the glory of God? And I got 2 more questions and we'll be done. And so social media has been a great asset for both of you. How do you steward that responsibility with the platforms that God has given you? How do you steward that well? And we kind of asked that at the beginning, but if you want to hit on that one more time, I think that'd be great.
I would say like a pastor is responsible for his congregation. We feel a little bit of responsibility for the people who follow us.
That's a great answer.
You're not gonna, like, everybody that comes to church isn't a believer. Not everybody that follows us is a believer. Some are exactly the opposite. And if in my content, when we pray before we eat, if that plants a seed,
A small discipline.
yeah, the fundamentals.
Yeah.
If that blooms into something great, amazing. If it doesn't, it's a seed.
Yeah.
And that's the intentionality, right? Even the small things. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
I was going to say, right along the line of that too, is I had no expectation of what my social media was going to look like. Even before DCC, I knew the significance that social media and your words and the things that you did and posted online have such an impact on someone. And so even before, the amount of followers that we have now, I knew that I had a responsibility, and I think I take that that pressure, at least now on this side of it, with a larger audience, that pressure that I feel is such a blessing, because I know that that's the Lord working through me, and all I have to do is just at least plant one seed, and that to me, that's what we're called to do, is to lead people to Christ. And so I think that, yes, there is pressure within what you do, what you post, what you say, but I think it's such a blessing knowing that the Lord is going to use you to reach other people. So I think that's one thing that we've learned through social media and the impact that we have. But we hope that we can be stewarding it super well with showing our authenticity, our vulnerability, and hopefully for people to see that they're seen and that they can feel seen, really, is just with the things that we post and the things that we do. I'll say another thing too. Ladies in the room, I feel like a lot of times when we look at social media, we're looking at the picture perfect someone who has the hair, who has the makeup on, who has all the things, right? And of course, that's cool, but those are all worldly things. And when I've seen so many big sisters in my past who have posted things where they're just having a good time. They might be in scrubs, no makeup, and they're just so filled with the fruit of the Spirit. That is what I pray and hope that I can portray on my social media, so that people can see, just feel relatable, and not that someone is on this pedestal. And I just hope that people can feel loved, and people can feel like they have a younger sister, big sister, and a friend within our social media platforms.
Oh, it's great stuff. And I think everyone in the room that knows you and everyone in the room that has driven, I know we've got some people that's driven a long way tonight, would agree with that assessment for sure of you guys and using your platform well. Well, I'm going to ask you to just do one thing before we go, and we're going to head out here for the meet and greet opportunity. So we got middle schoolers, we got high schoolers, we got college students, and we got young adults in the room. What is one word of advice that you would give this next gen room? I'd say. So Will, you start, and Reece, give us the closing. One thing or your middle school self, high school self, what's one thing you would tell them right now?
I would tell Reece to buckle up.
Hey, yeah, that's right. That's
But
good.
I'll have a different answer. You want to go first?
Stay the course. Like middle school, like you had a huge impact on me at Enon, and that's when I started really like believing and being obedient, and like from there on, was surrendering my life. There was times that I failed, there was times that I drifted off, but middle school self, I could tell myself to stay steady, stay the course.
Well, man, that's good. And you obviously had a big impact on me, because I remember when Lily and I found out you were coming to Alabama, I said, hey, I'm going to go recruit Will. He's going to be our intern. And she was like, how are you going to do it? I was like, well, Pastor Russ Quinn asked me to speak at an event in Morris. And I said, I'm going to find him there. And when I say, hey, you're going to be my intern when you come to Alabama. And sure enough, he has been. And I love Will and known him since 2015. And I'm thankful for that moment that we met and moment that we've been able to invest in each other. But if I've had an impact on you, brother, you've definitely had an impact on me. So good stuff, man. Yep. All right, Reece, go.
There's so many different directions I feel like I could take in this moment. So hopefully, like, the Lord is going to touch at least one of y'all in the room with what I'm going to say. But no matter where you are, no matter where the Lord places you, you are called there on purpose for a purpose. And I hope that gives you all encouragement as you walk into the next phase of your life. I know for a lot of us in the room, it's really scary when you don't know what your future looks like, but you know that you can trust your unknown future to a known God. And so I just think that the biggest piece of encouragement I would give to myself, biggest piece of advice I would give to you all today is just to know that you are called wherever you're supposed to be on purpose, for ultimately His glory and for your good too.
On purpose, for a purpose, for the moments that we've been given. Guys, can we show Will and Reece how much we appreciate them for being here tonight? So that's good stuff.
Valley View.